Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Toon Chat. Hope you've been enjoying this week's Stephen Bomb.
I know we have. We got to the third episode of the week.
It's called It Could Have Been Great. Yeah,
and the episode starts very light, but I love it how things ramp up pretty fast in the episode. It didn't get too heavy, but it's a precursor to what's coming.
We got some new information, but not too much.
Yeah.
So we start off with everyone's relaxing by the barn, and Peridot comes out and she's upset because she's like, why aren't we working? We have to keep working. Bad stuff is going to happen. And Steven's like, it's okay to relax a little bit. We've worked really hard, and they're kind of just sitting, admiring the sunset and appreciating what's in front of them and everything.
Yeah, I think that shows a huge difference between Peridot and the other gems who have lived on the earth so long, is that the gems we know admire the earth and they enjoy life there, and they enjoy the simple things like a sunset and looking at the sky and relaxing. Whereas Peridot doesn't understand that at all, and she has a task and a mission, and she has to do it. And she doesn't participate in frivolous things that she sees as unimportant, like staring at a sunset.
She may as well be a robot.
Right.
She really is very objective focused and doesn't want to take breaks or appreciate anything.
I thought it was real nice that when she spins the drill, Steven's like, oh, you're making music. And she's like, what does that mean?
She doesn't even know what music is.
Yeah.
And so Steven, he's like, listen, here's this song I've been making. And he plays her a little song, and she doesn't understand music. He kind of teaches her what music is, and she doesn't even understand the point. She's like, if it doesn't have a physical, tangible outcome, she doesn't understand why anybody would do anything like that. So he teaches her his little song, and it's cute. And we get a little we get some clips of them working on the drill some more over the next, I guess, day.
And they finish it.
Yeah.
But they're missing a key part, which is where the cluster is in the earth. So they figure out that there is that information, but it is in a secret gem base on the moon.
A diamond base specifically. I also thought it was really cute that, while they're talking about what to do, Steven runs and hugs Peridot. So he's obviously getting very attached to her, and he thinks that she's kind of becoming part of their group. So that was kind of an interesting little thing. Yeah, so Pearl's like, there's a diamond base on the moon, but there's no warp pad there, which I thought was interesting. Because there's warp pads to everything else.
Well, maybe it's so exclusive that diamonds may have a secret way of getting in there. Or maybe they manually fly there in ships.
We don't know. And it could just be that base is only meant for really high-ranking gems or just diamonds or whatever. We don't know yet.
Right.
So they go, and I thought it was interesting. So they use Lion to go there because they don't have any other way of getting there. They don't have a ship, so it's all they have. And he warps them there really fast. So fast that they almost fall off of him.
I thought it was hilarious. Like, Garnet was barely holding on when he started warping faster and faster. And then they get into the moon base and he slides in. So I thought it was really neat. And then they get in, they see all this, these murals on the wall. And I love it when they're like, oh, this doesn't look like the moon. And Amethyst opened the door and they almost get sucked out.
Like, yep, it's the moon.
Yeah, it's the moon.
And I can't remember if they did this in a previous episode or not, but the gems are using their gems as flashlights, which I thought was really cool. They may have done it in another episode. I can't remember. Also, you notice they're not affected by the lack of gravity.
Yeah, they made a point to show that Steven is jumping around and he's kind of floating there because the moon has lower gravity than the earth. So he's lighter. So Amethyst is like, oh, that's cool. I want to be Moon Boy too. And she starts jumping around and she just falls on her face. And Peridot explains to her that gem bodies automatically adjust to the environment they're in so that they can always be...
Because they have to be able to conquer different planets with different atmospheres and
different
levels
gravities.
of gravity.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And Amethyst wouldn't know that because she was born on Earth. And I don't think she's ever been off, really.
I don't think she's been off the Earth.
Yeah. So it was a good way to introduce that piece of information without seeming too shoehorned in, that she wouldn't know that. So they pass through this empty room, except for it has a sphere in a beam of light. And we don't know what it is.
Yeah, well, Garnet gets a little defensive about it. And she's like, it's not what we came for. And they pass by it. But anytime that happens in any sort of show, you know it's going to be important
Especially
later.
this show. Yeah, and she She could have just said, oh, it's nothing. She's like, it's something, but it's not what we're here for. So I thought that was interesting. Peridot talks a little bit about the roles of the diamonds, which is important because we really don't know anything about them. We know very, very little about them, just that they seem to be at the top of the gem hierarchy.
Right.
So she described them as the gem matriarchs.
Yeah.
So they're obviously very important, and she said they govern the homeworld and all the colonies. So they're basically in charge. Now, we don't know if there's a hierarchy within the diamonds or if I think they're all meant to be equal. Maybe they cover different areas or they rule as a team. I'm not really sure because they didn't specify that.
Yeah.
But it was just a tiny little tidbit of information that kind of confirmed what everybody thought about them. So I also found it funny that Peridot doesn't really know how to laugh. Like the most basic thing, she doesn't know how to laugh. And so they get up to the main room with the control deck, the control panel. And Steven sees this big chair, this big throne looking thing.
Well, he sits in it.
And Peridot's like, oh my God, you can't sit in that. That's only for the highest ranking gems or whatever. And he says, oh, they're not here. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So she jumps in the chair and he finds this little panel in the chair. And in the panel is this strange white crystal. And Peridot's like, put that back. She obviously knows something about it. So she tells him to put it back. So he's like, all right. So he puts it back. And so we keep seeing the diamond symbol, the insignia.
Yeah.
And there's yellow, blue, pink, and white. We definitely know there's a yellow diamond, and we definitely know there's a blue diamond at this point. The other two, not so sure. We don't know. Obviously, they must exist, but they haven't been mentioned yet, and we know nothing about them.
Yeah.
We might have seen them on the temple paintings in some of the older episodes, but they weren't identified as that.
Right. We
just kind of saw them in the background. So Peridot takes control of the panel thing and she pulls up the information and she shows this. I noticed, I don't know if this is going to have significance later on, but she finds where the cluster is. And it was Area 51 on the map.
Is that where it was?
It was Area 51. I looked it up. I said, at first I thought it was kind of
because it's in
LA.
Nevada.
I thought it was kind of LA, but I'm like, wait, it's not on the coast. And I looked and I was like, let me see where it falls on a map. And sure enough, it's an approximation for where Area 51 is. So I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I think they're going to allude to all the alien conspiracies on Earth have to do with the crystal gems.
I mean, it's possible. It's entirely possible. And Ronaldo is the big conspiracy theorist. So
yes.
Some of the stuff he references, I think, are loosely based on actual conspiracy theories. So like lizard people and snake people and stuff like Sneeple. So they find that the cluster has traveled a little bit east of Area 51 on the map. Again, I don't know if it was meant to be on purpose, that we're going to talk about that later, or it was just like a little fun Easter egg type thing.
I think the bigger thing that came up was when Peridot shows them the Earth and then all the sites, the gem sites that were on the Earth, and then you see all these dots come up. But then when she shows you the plan for what they were going to do to the Earth when it became a colony, and the Earth looks like this twisted, hollow mass with holes in it and these giant crystal spires popping out of it.
She said they were basically going to take all the Earth's resources. They were going to have spirals, warp pads, kindergartens, everything. And the Earth was going to look like a shell with a core. Spires sticking out of it. And so it was going to be this huge colony, basically. They were going to take it over. And she keeps talking about how important it would have been and all the gems that would have been born from this and everything. And Pearl and Amethyst and Garnet are looking on in horror. Yeah. Maybe they didn't know the extent of what was planned. Maybe they did. I don't know. But they're just horrified by what they see.
Well, I don't think any of them would have ever seen what a colony looks like. Amethyst certainly would not have. Garnet, maybe, I don't know. Maybe she does, and she's still horrified because
she was the only one. Garnet was the only one who didn't look as shocked. Peridot, Pearl and Amethyst both looked absolutely horrified.
Well, Pearl probably wouldn't have seen what a colony looks like either, I don't think. Who knows when she was created? Yeah,
the thing is, we don't know how far back Pearl and Rose go, and we don't know what the turning point was where Rose said enough is enough.
Right.
We don't know how far back that goes. Peridot kind of goes on this rant about rose quartz.
Yes, she goes on a rant and, basically says thanks for nothing because the Earth's still going to be destroyed by the clusters. So basically did nothing. And the gems get really, really mad.
That's not the thing you want to do in front of the gems.
They got really angry. Yeah. And Garnet picks her up and looks like she's going to punch her.
Yeah. She's like, listen, you don't know what you're talking about. She's like, you need to stop talking about things you don't understand. Because they've spent the last few thousand years doing this task that she wanted to accomplish. And Peridot is very kind of blunt and insensitive because she is just the way she is at the moment. And she just kind of starts, insulting everything that they worked for.
Well, she's dismissing the war. We don't know how horrible the war was.
Right.
And that Rose Quartz betrayed her own people to preserve the earth.
Right.
And they've lived there for thousands of years, keeping the peace.
Right.
And she, in 1 minute, just says all that was for nothing.
Yeah. She's like, the earth is going to get destroyed no matter what. So, that's not something you want to say to them. If anything, the gems are more human than any other gems we've encountered. They have more feeling, and they're not this single-minded entity that just wants to take everything over.
Right.
Which is what makes them special. And so Steven's kind of bummed because he feels like he thought Peridot was finally starting to understand what they were about and why they were doing what they were doing.
Right.
And she doesn't really get it. And the last thing we see, and it ends on a cliffhanger, is Peridot, she steals the little crystal from the chair that we don't know what it is. She kind of sneaks it.
Yeah, she sneaks it out, but Steven sees it, and we see a clear shot of it in her hand, and she goes with the other gems, and Steven has this kind of concern.
I think he asked her. He said, what is that? And she's like, oh, nothing, or something
No,
like that.
he didn't ask her.
He didn't say anything?
No.
Okay. Well, the others didn't see it at all. Garnet and
No,
the
they
rest-
already walked out of the room.
Yeah, they were already done, and Steven's like, what is up with that? And then it just ends.
Yeah.
So it felt like I wanted to scream when that cut happened, because it just felt like it was a commercial break, not the end of an episode. So this is unfortunately what happens with 11-minute episodes, is that when you're trying to do really big, heavy story stuff, it's really hard to convey that stuff in 11 minutes.
Yeah.
When back in the day, it was always 22 minutes. Now we only have shows like pretty much Gravity Falls and My Little Pony and maybe Ninja Turtles. That's almost it when it comes to 22-minute shows. So it cut very abruptly. And I guess this is going to kind of be similar to The Return and Jailbreak, where one just flows into the other.
Probably, because it ended at that scene.
Right.
That was it.
So I'm really interested to see the next episode. I'm really on edge waiting for it, but I think some really crazy stuff is going to happen the next couple episodes.
We might actually see Yellow Diamond. I think this is going to happen. I think we're going to see Yellow Diamond, like, for reals, not just a painting or a flashback or anything. We're going to see her. And we're going to find out what's in that sphere.
Yeah.
I really think we're going to find out what's in that sphere. And whether it's good or bad, I don't know.
It has to be important one way or another, because they wouldn't have had Steven kind of stare at it for a second if it wasn't something we were meant to see as well. Because remember, Steven is us. He doesn't really know any more than we do about all this stuff. So I'm very curious. That was not something I was expecting. But every time we go to any kind of gem structure, we see something really weird or something we don't know about. So I'll be curious to see.
Yeah.
So I guess that's it until the next episode, and we'll see you then. Bye, guys.